And so welcome again to our series of Christian meditation, Prayer of the Heart. This week we have another wonderful opportunity to enter, well, for us from Trinidad and Tobago, the wider community of meditators, and this week it's going to be Australia. We're taking a look at the Townsville experience, which is an experience in the Diocese of Townsville in Australia, which is in northeastern Australia, where the bishop is a meditator and where throughout his diocese, students meditate daily. As many as 12,000 students meditate each day. You're going to hear, I looked at this DVD myself yesterday again, and you will hear the voices of teachers who are bringing this practice, meditators themselves, the students, and members of the community, parents, people who are experiencing the transformation that meditation can bring. So enjoy.
Something remarkable continues to grow within our Catholic schools in the Diocese of Townsville. We continue to teach Christian meditation in the John Main tradition with astonishing results. This gentle, simple, yet transformative spiritual practice is blossoming in the hearts of our children. In this DVD, you will see and hear just how life-giving this beautiful prayer of the heart has become for our teachers and students.
Yes, Christian meditation is beneficial for all people, young, older. I think the best way to approach it is to introduce it when the children are younger, because then there's more understanding and less resistance to it as they get older.
I think meditation is really important, especially in the society that we live in now, because children are involved in a very instantaneous society, and meditation gives them the time to reflect and look at what they value in their life and be able to see God in the world around them.
They don't get time, to stop, and I think their brains are really overstimulated, and I think it's fantastic for them to take the time to be quiet and be still.
Well, students live today in a really distracted world where they're always listening to their iPods and they're on Twitter or social networking sites. So this is a way that students can just be. And in the stillness and silence they find in Christian meditation, they can find a pathway to God and experience God in the stillness and silence.
I guess you've got to take into consideration the fact that kids' lives are incredibly mediated, and this gives an opportunity or a sort of a pathway, if you like, to having a special relationship with the divine. Obviously that's not very trendy to be a Christian or cool or whatever, and I guess this is a countercultural activity. It challenges modern or sort of postmodern conceptions of the self, and it enables people to just hold up a little bit, and particularly young people, and get a sense of who they are, and I think it's a deeply centering experience. And
boys in particular, although I found it very helpful with working with girls, but because boys tend to be emotionally inarticulate and there's a lot happening inside them that they find hard to express, just finding that quiet, still place within is a great way to calm troubled waters at times. When you have 230 boys straight out of their dormitories and straight out of breakfast into the chapel, they're fairly boisterous, and so to begin with quieting and centering the boys, it brings them into the presence that they're in a sacred space in the chapel. It brings them to awareness that God is as close as their own breath. And in some of the most unlikely candidates, you see them settle and become calm and then become receptive to the prayer that we're about to enter into.
They love it. They actually really enjoy taking the time, probably partly because it's not very rigorous, but also because I think they do enjoy the time just to be quiet and still.
The students respond really easily to Christian meditation. I think it's harder as the students get older, but they seem to take to it naturally and quite enjoy Christian meditation. And if we don't have Christian meditation for a couple of days, they actually ask me if they can do some Christian meditation.
I guess the embracing the Christian element, I certainly try and set it up so that it is a religious experience and a unique form of prayer, but you know, often in the sort of debriefing sessions that I do, I'm surprised to hear them talk more about the need for silence and peace and focus as opposed to the divine. And I'd like to think that there's a trick being played on them there, that, you know, in actual fact that silence is the divine, and it's just it's another level that's operating there to that they can reach.
I've run a meditation group of a morning here, and a lot of teachers have, you know, sort of come up and gone, oh, it's a bit airy-fairy, I don't want to be like a hippie. And, you know, I sort of say to them, look, it's not about, you know, sitting there with your legs crossed and going, It's about, you know, having a quiet reflection and quiet time to see where God is in your life.
One thing I've found is all the kids are definitely open to stopping and being still.
Some years I'm quite hesitant with fairly energetic students, but they can do Christian meditation and they do it well and enjoy it.
I think in particular working with Indigenous students, they have an awareness of the still place and the stillness that isn't as confronting as it is with non-Indigenous students, who sometimes get anxious and nervous when they're left with their self.
I've noticed my students embracing being quiet, embracing being alone, and maybe looking for other opportunities to do that in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, they have, yeah. And it's surprising the kind of kids that have, yeah. The other guys that have embraced it have actually been people that have been a little bit sort of, clandestine, and their behaviour's perhaps been, on the edge, and it's always surprising to see those guys turn up. While I don't advocate that as being a deterrent for bad behaviour, I think it enables them to just focus and slow down and to get a sense of self.
There's something that happens when they enter that quiet, still space, and I can explain that from a point of view of neurochemistry, and it's well documented now that what's actually happening is a calming of not just their brains, but a calming of their whole body, and the chemicals that are produced by the brain produce a sense of well-being. The best way for teachers to introduce something like Christian meditation into their classroom is to experience something themselves first. And it's one of those paradoxes where it's something it's personal, but it's not private.
I think that the best way is for them to actually learn from the kids and to ask the kids the experience, to debrief. That's the best thing that I ever did, is to reflect on it, to debrief, to discuss the movement, the various different, capacities that kids use to just silence themselves. They're the best teachers for meditation because they're so young and perceptive, and everything's kind of so in their face.
It's doing something they can put their self into, which is what teachers are used to doing in the classroom. And it's encouraging each teacher to find their way, what they're comfortable with. And because you can only really lead somebody where you've travelled yourself, that's why I say they must do it themselves first. And so if we can engage teachers in weekends away, in short courses in meditation.
I think the thing that should be more clearly explained to students and to people who are considering meditation is that it allows you to have that space, that oasis, that moment with God, and it doesn't matter where you are. You can be anywhere at any time, and if you've become practiced at it, it just happens for you wherever you are.
Being in grade 11 is very hectic and there's a lot going on, and I'm sure it's like that for most grades, and so it's good to have an outlet, and meditation is just a calming, peaceful way to kind of settle after a day.
When you're in a circle it feels enclosed and you just feel safer, I guess.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of church. I don't like sitting there for an hour, but I'd rather sit by myself and just be able to ponder, my life and Christianity and how God's involved and stuff. Yeah, I much prefer it.
I started in primary school, about grade 5, and I've been doing meditation ever since in RE, so it's really relaxing and it's really good to keep going with it.
It helps you with your daily life. I mean, when I started meditation, I felt calmer. I found it easier with my assignments. I found it easier in my daily life. And it gets all the worries out of your head, and it makes you just calm and still and silent, and it's just nice to be in a silent environment for a little bit. Even if it is for 5 minutes or 3 seconds, it's just nice.
It gives you a sense of calmness and helps you to focus, and this is a time in your life when you need the most focus and you need to be as calm as possible.
I do, yeah. It's peaceful and relaxing, because we're always on the go at school and stuff. It's time out for me.
We normally meditate at school on a weekly basis, but it's always nice to find somewhere quiet on your own, such as just at home in your bedroom, or we've tried like out under a mango tree and everything, which is nice.
Sometimes if there's a lot going on like outside of school, maybe it's a bit harder because you're thinking about a lot of things at the same time, and when we have lots of assessment, it's kind of hard to concentrate just to be silent and still. But other times it's really good because you can relax and yeah.
We just started recently in high school, but then in primary school we did meditation every few weeks.
I would say that meditation is a stress reliever, and it's also just kind of a time to escape, but it's a process at the same time. Like, it's not just a time to sit and do nothing, because you're actually doing something while you're doing nothing, if that makes sense.
It definitely takes the pressure off being a teenager. Like, you're held up to such high standards by your friends, like peer pressure and all that, but I think it just gives you time to sit back and think about, where you're going and what you want to do in your life, and just, it's not all, it's personal time. There's no one interrupting you. It's great.
Well, I feel that meditation just really helps me to get in touch with my God, because because I play sport a lot, I don't really get to go to church as much, and this is my way of connecting, I suppose.
It's really relaxing and great to get away from troubles and to clear your mind of those worrying thoughts and to just relax once in a while, because the older we get, the more busy our lives get, so it's great to just get away from that for a couple minutes.
Well, it makes me feel really calm and makes me feel like for me to be myself and not no one else.
Yeah, definitely. We've started encouraging kids at the school as well. Like, we've increased from about 5 people now to sometimes 30 attending meditation, which is great.
Yeah, sure. I think it's important to take some time out to relax and be still, because we can get caught up with our outside lives, school and work, so it's good to just relax and be still and silent for a while.
I would recommend it because it's a good way to become still and silent and forget everything that's going on.
Well, it's a pretty easy thing, but it's just focusing. It's the main thing. You got to focus and relax and let everything settle into your mind. So yes.
Well, the first time I heard about Christian meditation was at our prep orientation at the end of last year, ready to come into prep for 2010. Hadn't heard of meditation with prep children before that, so it was a new concept. And basically we were told that the children would gradually increase the amount of time that they would meditate up until I think it was 5 minutes that we were told at the beginning of the year. And on first hearing that, you're sort of a little shocked that young children, being 4 and 5 at the beginning of the year, would be able to achieve that. But the teachers assured us that with practice through the year and gradually increasing the time, that by the end of the year they would be able to do those 5 minutes. And I suppose from a parent's point of view, that achievement is something for the child to aspire towards, and is quite a confidence building for themselves to be able to sit with themselves for 5 minutes and be quiet and still is something great, I think.
I think it's very good that they can have a knowledge of how to pray, how to meditate in particular. I think it's wonderful that they have a sense of respect for that mode of prayer, and I think it's really a great asset to the family that at school it's being taught. So they bring it home with you, and in fact sometimes they teach you how to do it as well as a parent.
Yeah, I think it's benefiting him, and it'll equip him with some skills for later in life, for dealing with like anxiety and stressful situations and all of that.
Well, my daughter Emma has always been a very active child and has never been one to sit quietly with an activity on her own. She's always needed some sort of companionship, be it her sister or myself or my husband. Since being in prep this year and obviously being exposed to the meditation, I find that she can now go and sit quietly on her own, be it in her room or in a quiet area of the house, and she will just sit quietly and do an activity or just sit and look at a book and be comfortable being with herself rather than having to have people around her.
I have noticed on occasions that, especially my youngest one recently, just out of the blue deciding to do some meditation herself, and she went onto my bed and just created that mood herself, and I was very impressed with that as I walked through the house. And so the action is there, if not talking to me about it directly, certainly the action is there.
She does say that she talks to God, mainly more at school. I think she does that, but she is aware that a quiet time is a good time for that sort of reflection to happen. So yeah, I mean it is starting, especially not even being 6 yet. So yeah, it's definitely there.
Christian meditation is the most inclusive form of prayer that I know. As our teachers and students become more attentive to God in their lives, I cannot help but feel grateful for this gift of teaching stillness and silence, which has become a spiritual practice that seems so right for our modern world today.